Hey, it's Pastor Joe, lead pastor at Markham Woods Presbyterian Church. Thought I would send out a little Tuesday morning pick-me-up, I hope. I think we're all about ready for that right now. I wanted to begin today by telling you a little bit about some of the stuff that's going on in the life of the church, but one of the things that we're trying to do is keep our Holy Week holy. Set aside, set apart, made special. So we're going to be showing our Monday, Thursday service. It'll be at this Thursday evening at 7:30. You can go on and watch that service. We're also going to be producing a brand new Good Friday Tenebrae service Friday at 7:30. It's going to look a little different due to all the stuff with COVID-19, but I hope you'll tune in, especially if you've never watched that service before, participate in it. It's very powerful, and I hope it brings some meaning to you as we move toward Resurrection Sunday. But I want to begin today by talking a little bit about where we are, okay? Where are we? We're kind of left hanging in limbo, aren't we? We sort of, we don't really know where the bottom of this coronavirus is going to show up. You know, how low are we going to sink before we start picking our lives back up again? It reminded me that I don't know if it's part of being a member of Markham Woods Presbyterian Church, but we've had at least 3 of our members that had sinkholes develop under their homes. A pretty unstabilizing thing to have happen, to see your home begin to move and to shake and windows break and crack. And the question is, okay, what's going to happen? How far will we sink down before this thing gets supported? And I don't know whether you feel like that today, like part of your life is sort of hanging in the balance, like those homes that are situated on top of unstable ground. But I think it is good to know where the bottom is as we move through not just life, but kind of what's going on right now in our lives. And as a pastor, I know pastors I'm watching everybody post all these little devotionals and meditations, and they want to offer something that'll kind of, offer that support. So I saw one pastor, he gave this one illustration where he took 4 jars, and in each jar he put a worm. So you got it. It's 4 jars. Each one has a worm in it. The first jar, he put the worm into. The jar was full of alcohol. The second jar, the worm was in there with cigarette smoke. Third jar, he put the worm in there with some chocolate syrup. And the fourth jar with the worm in it, he put good, clean soil, the kind of soil that the worm, would normally grow in. So at the conclusion of his little illustration, the minister reported the following. So here it is. Here's the results. The first worm in the alcohol, it died, right? Second worm placed in the cigarette smoke, you can guess that worm died also. Third worm, you might think, did well in the chocolate syrup. Maybe that's the way some of us would want to go, but no, that worm died also. Now come to the fourth jar with just the worm and the good clean soil. That worm, you figured it out already, right? That worm survived. That worm was alive. So the minister asked the congregation, what did you learn from this little demonstration? So one of the parishioners responds back. Her name happened to be Maxine. So Maxine responds back and said, as long as you drink, smoke, and eat chocolate, you won't have worms. And that pretty much ended that little illustration. So I don't know what you do with that. I think we need something more to support us. So as I'm coming to you today, I know many of our businesses and ways of life are kind of left hanging, right? We're just hanging in the lurch, don't know what to do. So what do you do? What do you folks do when the bottom seems to fall out of our lives? As people of faith, where does that support really come from? And so today I wanted to share just a little bit out of Isaiah 40, very, very familiar passage to most of us that have been in and around the church, where it talks about God giving power to the faint. It says those that wait for the Lord, they get their faith renewed, their strength renewed, right? Like rejuvenated. They'll mount up like eagles, right? mount up on eagle's wings. They'll be able to run and not grow weary. For those that are only able to walk, they'll be given strength to do that and not grow faint. So when I think about that passage from Isaiah, it reminds me, kind of going back to the sinkholes and having a good solid place to land. I think Isaiah says when we come to God in faith through Jesus Christ, we have a soft landing place. Supportive, but receptive, a holding place. Now, it's interesting. I was out canoeing one day, and I saw on one of these homes was right next to the water, and they had a trampoline set up, and the trampoline was set in just the way that if you bounced on the trampoline, you could actually bounce over and into the water. And it looks like fun, like to try it. But when I thought about that, it's kind of like that soft landing, right? The water, just from jumping off the trampoline, it's not going to be something that hurts. It's something that sort of wraps around you, sort of supports you with a soft landing. And we need that. We need a place where our landing is secure, but also receptive and holds us. And that's important right now, because God wishes to support all of us, support our burdens, to hold us. So what do we do right now? How do we engage that? Well, real briefly, just in the Gospel of Mark, in the 11th chapter, many of you have heard this. It talks about Jesus saying, if you have faith, if you have a belief in God as sovereign God, as the God that can do anything, the God that holds us, right, is receptive, a soft landing place for us. If you have that kind of faith in God, then mountains can be moved, right? We can shoulder a heavy burden. Because when we feel like life is sinking down, wow, we need that, don't we? We need that kind of faith to shoulder the burden, to keep us from sinking down. So I want to leave you with 4 quickies, right? 4 quick takeaways here for this little devotional today that come out of both looking at the Isaiah passage and also the Mark passage. So when we pour our faith, right, into the sinking areas or toward the sinking areas, here's the first one. Faith raises us up like on eagle's wings, right? Faith places us in that position where God can hold and support. Even when the bottom seems like uncertain, we know there is a place that holds, somewhere where the bottom doesn't drop out. Number 2. Faith assures us that we're not alone, right? The very nature of faith means we have faith in someone. That means God is with us. When we have faith in God, we're automatically claiming the fact that God is in charge of everything. Ultimately, we can only sink to the level of Christ, right? Of Jesus' love and grace. And that's where the lifting begins. You know, Romans 13 says, everyone who calls on the name of the Lord will be saved. So when we get that sinking feeling, right? When we get that sinking feeling, faith claims the promises, those promises in Isaiah, and it gives us the strength to be renewed and to be lifted up. So as you go about your day today and the next couple of weeks, however long we wait for the bottom, right, to hit on this thing, we remember that we only sink so low, right? There is a bottom. It's not given by governments, and it's not given by principalities and powers. The real bottom, the supportive bottom, that receptive, soft landing spot, comes through faith in God. And that's something we can live with today. That's something we can act on. That's something we can push off of and move forward. So I want to leave you that little word today. And don't forget those 2 services, Thursday night, 7:30, Monday, Thursday. The Friday night service of darkness, it's sort of the Stations of the Cross. That begins at 7:30. And then we will celebrate. We will celebrate the ultimate lifting that happens on Resurrection Sunday at 9 o'clock and at 11 o'clock.